Hey, what is going on, everybody? How you doing? This is Gabriel Skywalker here, coming to you with a one-on-one interview with Mr. Cordell Maverick. How are you today, young man?
I'm doing just fine.
That's good. That's good to hear you. First of all, happy birthday to Brock. I saw it was his birthday yesterday, and congratulations on Miranda getting engaged.
Yeah, that's something every dad wants to hear, isn't it? Your daughter's been stolen.
I've told my wife this, like, if I had a girl, I wouldn't know what to do. I would be that dad with the shotgun at the door. Boys are easy. Girls, I would not know what to do. So you deserve a trophy, my friend.
No, I'll tell you what, I always thought it was going to be hard, but it wasn't because she didn't do anything stupid. She wasn't out there messing around when she was a teenager. She's 24 years old. She's engaged to a really nice guy. Everything kind of fell in place. It was kind of God's plan for her. So it was not a problem for me at all. He's a good kid.
Yeah, that's awesome. I was telling her, when I had her on here, I consider her a winner in life because she went to college, she was valedictorian at high school, all this stuff, and she's got like this Ken doll guy for a boyfriend too. So congratulations to them. I'm happy for both of them. I've never met him, but yeah, he seems like a nice dude.
No, if she picked him out, he's got to be really good. So he's a good guy. I met him. He's a good, godly man. Can't say anything bad about him.
Well, that's good. That's good. I'm sure he likes to hear that. Um, what's it
Well,
like?
I could say some bad things about him, but I don't want to. We're on air.
Yeah, we'll keep that between us guys, us dads. We'll keep that.
Yeah.
So, how does it feel? First of all, tell us a little bit about yourself. If you don't know who Cordell Maverick is, guys, he's Miranda Maverick's father. You guys know I'm a huge fan of her. She was the very first fighter I ever interviewed. She took the time out of her day to come on my show. I'll always be grateful to her for that. I always got her back 1,000%. This is her father. And not only is this her father, he's in her corner, and he's now an official UFC cornerman, by the way. Congratulations with that. So tell us
That's
a little
right.
about, yeah,
That's
tell
right.
us a little bit about yourself.
License and everything. Well, there's not a whole lot to tell about me right now. We're just on here about Miranda, but I'm Miranda's dad. I also have two other children. I own a ranch here in Missouri, and I am a licensed corner in Nevada anyway. I'm sure I'll have to get licensed wherever else she has to go fight now. But a lot of things that we won't air on TV. You just have to get to know me to know everything else. Don't want to air all the bad things.
No, I mean, yes, especially nowadays in the small world, you gotta keep a lot of things close to the vest. I mean, what did you have to do to get licensed? Like, was it hard?
It's not. It's nothing. Miranda basically tended it to it for me. It was just a form had to be filled out in advance, and she took care of it for me.
Oh, that's cool then. All right. She's like, all right, Dad, I got this. That's cool, man.
That's right. That's the way we do most things. Anytime it comes to Dad, just have to go online, and then she stops and says, "Never mind, I'll do it."
Oh, I can use a kid like that because I was telling you, like, I'm old school. Like when it comes, and I'm a YouTuber, so everybody has this cool editing going on, and I don't know Adam from Eve with this editing stuff. So I wish I had someone like that. So yeah, that's awesome. Um, how hard was it? Let's go back to her UFC debut, where she just kicked the door down. My wife, that was her first time seeing Miranda fight, and she about jumped off the couch. Now my wife is a Miranda Maverick fanatic. Um, what was it like not being able to be there in her corner for the first time? Because I watched her Invicta fights, I watched it all. You were always there. Um, can you explain in words like how that felt?
It's almost better for me because I was at home watching her and I just stayed real quiet. Miranda said, Dad, film the fight from home, film it at home. And so everybody was sitting in the living room filming the fight. And everybody was just watching the TV, filming it with their cameras. And I stayed deadly quiet. I was so upset. I just sat there. And the first 45 seconds to 50 seconds, she just wasn't doing what I wanted her to do. And I just sat there quiet. And then when she won, we unloaded and everybody was just like, yes, yes. And she was like, I can't wait to see the footage of how you acted when you weren't at the fight, but at home. And then, we didn't film that. You said film the fight. She was like, no, you idiot. I wanted to film you, not the fight. She said, we got that on film. I was like, well, no kidding. But we just filmed the fight on the TV. We didn't get me, but I was absolutely beside myself. When I'm at the fight, I have a job. I'm a timekeeper. I can sit there and scream, instructions. But when you're at home sitting there, you just feel helpless. I already feel helpless sitting there at the corner. If I could, I would go in there and fight for her. And, if she would also listen to me, she would she'd probably win in the first 1 to 2 minutes of everything.
Yeah, you sound like a dad, all right. What would, like, I'm going to talk about family real quick. What's your secret to raising champions? I know you have you said 3 children. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So not just raising champions, like, I don't mean that by athletics. I also mean that in life. Like, they seem like they're good kids. What's your secret to keeping the kids out of trouble these days?
There's no secret. It's already been done. You can read the Bible and find out how to do it. You can also look at our ancestors who did it. Some were bad parents, some were good people that think they have the secret to it. They don't. Look at the world around us. Look how it's messed up. It's because this passive, tender-hearted way of parenting. I raised them on a farm. There was no ifs, ands, or buts. I had a neighbor come to me. They saw me raising my kids and having them pick up rocks out in the field, and it was hot. And they said, how are you getting your kids just to pick up rocks? I said, well, I told them for every tractor bucket load of rocks, I would give them $15 or $20. I forget what it was at the time. Well, these were wealthy people, and they had 2 daughters. Well, they saw me again about a month later, and they said, I don't know how you do it. They said, we went and told our kids we'd give them $50 to fill up a tractor bucket load of rocks. And they went out there and filled it half full and came in. And we said, what are you doing? And they said, we don't want to. And I laughed. I said, you messed up. I didn't tell you. No, it's not an option. See, it's not an option. The $15 to $20 was out of my benevolence. They're going to pick up rocks. I did this pay thing just to be nice. I said, your kids don't get to learn the word no, but parents think that kids can tell them no to things. My kids didn't get to tell me no. When I told them to do something, they did it. If they didn't want to do it, it was push-ups, it was something physical. It was basically like the military. If you didn't want to do what you're told, you're going to be punished. And let the chips fall where they may. When they get older, if they don't like you, they're going to come back and tell you they don't like you. They didn't like how they were raised. So far, that hasn't happened yet. I raised my kids with old school values, and I raised them the way I think God would want me to raise. And obviously, I messed up a lot. But today, we have all of these, pardon the term, sissy little snowflakes out here that as soon as they get emotionally damaged, just a little bit, they withdraw back in your field by doing that. That doesn't make you right. It just makes them bad people. And people are too busy raising little tender hearts instead of raising good society members.
My goodness, you sound like
Bet you wish you hadn't asked me.
Oh, I wish. No, you sound like me. That's exactly how I raised my son. I mean, sometimes I would, correct him in a store, and a stranger would get in my business, and I'm like, hey, mind your own business. Is that your kid over there yelling and screaming down that aisle? Mind your business. So, yeah, you sound like me.
You mean the one that the one that grabbed the Snickers bar off the shelf and was chewing on it through the wrapper, and the parent said, "Put that back," and grabbed it and put it back? That's the kid. The reason I grab everything on the back of the shelf instead of the front.
I do that too. People look at me crazy, but I do it because
I'm like,
I look for the precious ones.
that's right, because that kid's had that one in his mouth. I just know it.
And let me tell you a little secret from doing loss prevention in retail for so long and pretty much fighting every day in South San Jose. You don't want to touch the stuff that's up front, especially the deodorants. Let me tell you.
I don't even want to know that story.
Oh, geez. Well, let's get to the elephant in the room here. The whole world knows how I feel about what happened at Miranda's last fight. I did a whole video about it. I went on social media and was just. I've been watching the UFC since the original UFC, and fights. We see robberies all the time. But this one, I haven't seen a robbery like this in years. And just the UFC community with them tweeting about it, with people like, oh, she got robbed. Thoughts, sir?
Oh, you want my thoughts on it? They're never ending. I will lay this out for everyone to hear. This is someone I love. This is my daughter. And it is very hard to watch somebody get screwed over the way she got screwed over in this fight. It isn't like it was an opinion. We had study after study and came out 90% of people believe Miranda won. The other 10% were in the bathroom. We don't have anyone out there that doesn't know that Miranda won that fight. We had striking 80 some strikes to 38. We had a submission attempt, takedown for takedown. We had control. We had everything in Miranda's corner for 2 rounds that wasn't 20% or 30%. This was 100%, double what was said it was. And these 2 judges that judged it that way, I think they were either crooked or influenced by God or something. And that's something I will say. I believe that God has a plan. And, if you ever had ingredients of something that you really like, let's say it's chocolate. I love chocolate. And have you ever tasted baking cocoa? It is extremely bitter and nasty. And, if you like biscuits, have you ever tasted white flour? It's horrible. So the ingredients that go into things that you love, you may not like them a bit. And that's what I think of this fight. This may just be God's ingredient into something that he's making, master chef. And I'll just trust God in it, because I may not like the ingredient, but I probably will really like the meal. So I'm going to leave it up to God to make this, but I still don't have to like the ingredient. I don't like that she lost the fight, but I know God will turn this into something good. If the story of Joseph rings a bell to you in the Bible, here's this little bratty little kid that's running around home telling his brothers how great he is while they're out working, and God had a plan for him, but he couldn't use him that way. He had to toughen him up. And so he had a lot of years of hardship he had to go through. And this could just be that for Miranda. I don't know. Maybe he was working in Macy's life and Macy needed something at this point in time. But you can tell, short of divine intervention, there's nobody that can see that fight and think that Macy Barber won that fight.
No, she beat her in every single category, from striking to takedowns to everything. I mean, the whole world saw it. The whole world knows she knows. I will never accept that she lost that fight. Because I watch tape study for a living. I do UFC videos, so I watch for every fight that comes up, every card. I tape watch everybody. nobody in the world thinks she lost that fight, and I will never say she lost that fight. I know she's you. I saw you, you and her, you guys conducted yourselves in a professional manner, even though I know inside you wanted to just scream. How do you keep those emotions in check?
Oh, yeah. Oh, you have to, because, you've got to think about, how is this going to reflect on Miranda? How is this going to reflect on the future? Because in my opinion, not my opinion, I mean, it's a fact. There's a difference between opinion and fact. We can go back and look at the statistics and tell you it was a fact. If it was 53 strikes to 49, maybe it's close. But this was 82 to 38 strikes. She is undefeated in the UFC. And I knew that when they announced it. I thought maybe they made a mistake. Really, I still think they made a mistake. Probably one of them was drunk or on drugs or something. There's no, like I said, so when I come across things like this in life, it defies logic. I just turn it over to God and say, obviously, He's got a plan for this, because Miranda is undefeated in the UFC. They keep saying she was 5 wins in a row. She actually had 7 wins in a row. And a lot of her victories, I go back and tell Miranda, you lost that fight. Now, I know you won on paper and you won that fight, but you lost that round. And I don't like her losing one round. And I said, you got to look at that fight as a loss, so you can go back and train the way you need to, instead of taking and resting on your laurels and just coasting. And now this time she won the fight, but she technically lost it. And she needs to go back and toughen up. She's going to have to go back and mentally suck it up. It's even harder than, in a lot of ways, than actually losing, that she won it and has to constantly hear, I'm sorry you lost that fight. I heard you lost your fight. I have people that don't know anything about fighting saying, guess Miranda lost her fight. No, she didn't lose her fight. But this is a chance for her to mentally get tough, mentally overcome. And I said that's probably the weakest part of her game, is just what happened in the 3rd round. There was no reason for Miranda to go in there. This is me not being her dad, but there was no reason for her to go in there and not immediately double leg her and take her down like she did at the end of the 2nd round. Miranda took her down and was almost going to finish her in a submission. She outstruck her 2-1, and the judges, as she was almost submitting her with a rear naked choke, the judges didn't even give her credit on the scorecards for an attempted submission. So that blows my mind how dominating she was in that 2nd round. But at the same time, Miranda should have went back out there in that 3rd round and immediately shot for a double leg, taking her down and finished business that she was almost done doing in the 2nd round.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. I think the only way she could have won seeing it is she would have had to have finished her, because no matter what she would have done, she would have, here's what I'm put my tinfoil hat on, what have you. They had the same judges for that card in this last card, and there was no controversy in this last card. But for that card, all of a sudden the judges lost their dang minds. So I don't like to say that.
Well, you can't say, it's like me misplacing my wallet and saying somebody stole it and then finding it later. You kind of feel bad. But I went down that rabbit hole of putting the aluminum foil hat on. Miranda came out to a religious song. Miranda came out with an American flag. And you think, man, were these judges anti-American? Were they anti-religion? What was it that prejudiced them? Was it just that Macy Barber had 2 losses and they just didn't want her to have another one? But, it would have been different had it been a close fight. Hang on just a minute.
Yes, sir. Yeah, guys, if you want to ask any questions, put them in the comments right there. And then at the end of the video here, Mr. Maverick will gladly answer your questions, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. We are live right now with Cordell Maverick. We're breaking down the last fight as we speak. So ask away, guys, and we'll get into that towards the end of the video.
It's hard to make sense of something for your children. My daughter got 2nd in state in wrestling, and she was a junior. Well, you know what? She didn't win. It's that simple. It's not as though she got robbed. She was a junior in high school and she got second in state. That's great. There's no excuses about it. But when Miranda goes in there and beats somebody and then comes out a loss, I'm waiting, holding my tongue, waiting for the UFC to give her a win bonus. I absolutely hate that it cost her money, especially when they're not making much money to do this at all anyway. And when she won, she deserves that. I hope the UFC steps in and gives her that money still yet. They have a chance to make it right. And when I say I understand, I've heard people say, well, the UFC doesn't have anything to do with it. I'm not ignorant. I understand that it was the Nevada Athletic Commission or the Nevada, masking commission. That one day we're all not wearing masks, and then at noon we have to all start wearing masks because you got the shot and you're vaccinated, but you don't have to wear a mask. And then 5 minutes later, no, you do have to wear a mask, even though you've been tested and even though you've been vaccinated. We have the rulings come back, and you think, well, I'm going to do what I'm supposed to do to obey the rules and jump through all their hoops. And then for the Nevada Athletic Commission to turn around and do this on top of it, I understand that is not the UFC. But the UFC has the ability to overrule them financially. And for a young fighter struggling, they can write that part of it. And they could come out and say, yeah, we know she won. The statistics say she won. And with the finances back her and say, here, we know you won. Here's your money. And that's what I'm hoping they do. And that's the best they can do, in my opinion. And then give her a fight and get her back in there as soon as possible.
Yeah, and what people don't realize too, you probably lost hundreds of thousands of dollars because of the wrong decision here, because that would have put her in a top 10, and she would have had a big money fight coming up.
Well, she doesn't make that much money now. We won't get into the money, but yeah, potentially it killed her for down the road, plus having a loss against Macy Barber on her record, who, if you watch the fight, I think Macy's a good person. I hope she has a good future, and I don't mean any of this negatively towards Macy. So all of this is not lashing out at her personally at all. But she knows. I mean, she's got two eyes. She knows she lost the fight. She did win the third round, so great for her. But Miranda wasn't doing what she was supposed to do in the third round. I'm still irritated at Miranda about that. But, I don't want to say that I would mail somebody a wet paper sack and bet on the wet paper sack. But, she's not going to be able to win too much. And that really doesn't help Miranda that she has a loss against Macy. Now, who was the one that just fought her? Grosso. Grosso just fought Macy. Miranda beat Macy worse than Grosso did by a long shot. Grosso has a win against her. Miranda's got a loss against her. I mean, it could have been argued that Macy won the fight a little closer against Grosso, even though I would have went for Grosso. It could have been argued a lot closer. The statistics were more like 10 and 15% better than Macy instead of 100% better, like with Miranda.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to ask you that too. I didn't know that it's still early after the fight. I didn't know if the UFC reached out to you guys, to your camp, and said, hey, we want to make this right. We want to give you another ranked opponent. Anything?
Nothing. Didn't hear a word from them. I haven't. That would be Miranda's management that said they haven't heard anything from them. It's not what you think it is when you get in there. I think it's due to COVID. They talk about locker room bonuses. We're waiting. We were like, maybe somebody's going to poke their head in and say, that was you got robbed. We're going to make this right with you guys, take a little sting out of it, but nothing. So they take a little while, the wheels. I'm not going to sit here and run them down because if Miranda would have won, I would have been saying great things about them either way. And they have about a month to 2 months to correct this. So we'll leave it up to them to see what they're going to do. I'm her father. I sit here and say, you could go get this job instead of fighting. I think it should pay more when you're ranked where you're ranked. But Miranda isn't 14th. I think she knocked her rankings back to 14th, I guess. I'm not sure about that, but I think they knocked her back down, and she shouldn't be there. And those rankings do have a bearing when you go to negotiate your new contract.
Gotcha. Would you guys, do you think she would have like just run it back?
I don't even, me personally, I don't know what Miranda feels like right now, but me personally, why fight somebody again that you just beat? I mean, Miranda just beat Macy Barber, and I really, honestly, I have no need to go back other than to maybe take that mark off the paper, and maybe Miranda will learn to finish fights a little better, but that's everybody that says finish fights. They're stupid. They have no idea what they're talking about. This is 15 minutes of highly skilled people in there fighting one another. You can't go in there and, you know, swing for the fences like you're drunk and fight that way every time. You're going to wind up losing, and guess what? They'll cut you. And if you're going to go in there and strategically sit there and do what Miranda did and just pick her apart, the submission may come, it may not come. But, oh, you should have finished her and taken it out of the judge's hands. Even the best of the best have a hard time finishing their opponents every time. Miranda does have a really good finish record, but maybe this will light a fire under her and make her just a little more aggressive than she has been.
But yeah, you have to be proud of how much she's looked in every single fight since her debut. I mean, just how calm she is when she's on the ground. Her striking is just out of this world. Muay Thai striking, she's always had the ground game. That hasn't changed, but that even looks better. I'm very excited to see, you know, I've said it to her in the beginning, and I said it, you know, to people a long time ago. She's going to be the next champion. You know, rather it be 2 years from now or whatever. She's still a kid, but she will be the champion. Let me ask you one last thing.
Think what would be happening. No, I was just going to say, think if she had won this fight. Of course, everybody would be saying she's the champion. She did win this fight, but on paper, it sets her back. And yeah, she's got a little work to do to be the champion of the world, but it's just a little work. She has some critiquing to do. So she's going to go out and start working with Team Elevation. She's making that move coming up the end of this month, the first of next. She'll be out there. Anytime you make a change and go up, literally in elevation, when she goes out there, she's going to have a lot more tools to start training with and to sharpen her skills with. She's going to take a big leap this next time. And you're right. She is going to be the champ. I know she is. I just hate this asterisk. You know, did John Jones get beat by Matt Hamill? No, but he's got that asterisk on there. But everybody knows that John Jones didn't get beat by Matt Hamill. And I believe that's how this will be. Everybody knows that Miranda Maverick didn't get beat by Macy Barber. And every time that comes up, if I have the mic, if I have the ability, I'm going to step up there and tell everybody she didn't get beat. She got beat because some judge was getting paid under the table. So some judge was off in the bathroom when he decided to judge the fight. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know why. But again, I don't want to seem ungrateful. I want to sit here and say that God has control of this at the end of the day. I may not like the ingredient that he's cooking with, but I know I'll like the outcome, and I do trust that this will turn out to be the best for Miranda. But in the middle, if somebody asks me, I'm going to tell them it's an obvious robbery, obviously.
I haven't seen one in years like that. So how did you after the fight, you guys are in the back, like seeing that the fight was taken from not just but that's your daughter. Like as a father,
yeah,
you were there for her. I know she was upset. How do you comfort her after something like that as a father?
Oh, you got to be stoic. I mean, you got to be that bored that, you know, you can't sit there and get emotional with her. You just got to say, look, you were robbed. Life isn't fair. You know, and when this happens, and I try and tell everyone, go back to God, say a prayer, understand that God has the backdrop on this. This doesn't mean that you have to like it. It doesn't mean that this ingredient that he's cooking with, that you have to like the taste of it. Nobody told you had to like the taste of everything that you got disciplined with. but you have to accept it. Now, you can accept it immediately, or you can take a minute. I told her, I said, just let it out, cry, be upset, get mad, but it's not going to change the reality you're in. Depression is simply just not liking the reality you find yourself in. You may not like it, but you have to accept it to be able to have a good life. And to let Miranda vent a little bit, and then to tell her that this is what we're dealing with now. It'll be something she's dealing with in 10 years, in 5 years, and in 20 minutes. So you just as well get it out of your system and move on. Here it has been 2-3 weeks later, still dealing with it. It's no fun. I don't like it, but I think everyone knows that Miranda won the fight. That takes some sting out of it. And when you hear somebody say, well, there's an argument to be made for Macy, immediately you know that this person has an agenda. Immediately. It's that 1 out of 100 people that says that, and you just discount them because they can't even read a statistic. You can't read a chart. They can't even watch the fight because this isn't an opinion-based, she lost. And so for Miranda, you got to see the stats. I told her you won the first and second round for sure, but then she got lazy and kind of rested on her laurels. And I said, you have to accept it and say, well, I just didn't do everything I could do. And if you want to be a champion, this may just be the thing, instead of a true loss, take this and explain to yourself that next time I will not lay off the gas pedal. I'm going to just floor it the whole way through. So there's going to be good come out of it as long as she accepts it.
That's amazing. I mean, man, just hearing you talk, about how high you are on God, and people can be offended by that, but you know what? To hell with them. I'm just,
Look, walking with God has so many levels, and none of us are on the same level. Everybody's at different walks in there. I feel like I'm on rung 1, struggling all the time, because the closer you get to God, the further you feel away, because you get to see how great he is, and you get to see the plan he had in the Bible for everybody, and you get to watch it in somebody like Miranda's life. Miranda could just as easily have dropped out of college. She could have injured herself in fighting. She doesn't have to have the career she has, but I feel like God has given her the things that she's asked for. It doesn't mean that it's going to come without hardships. And of course, I'm big on God, because guess what? God's big on me. God has given me everything I have. And if you can't turn around and understand that everything I have is not by my own doing, but is by God, and that doesn't mean all the bad things. I did all those myself. I know that when I do things that are wrong, it's because I didn't listen. It's because I was rebelling. But every good thing I have in my life is because of God, and I know that, even my breath. And sometimes that doesn't do so good for other people.
I think, I'm not going to get into, politics and stuff like that, but yeah, I think a lot of problem in today's world is, I think, God is missing from a lot of people's lives. So let's talk about the ranch.
Definitely.
What's up with Maverick? What's a typical day at Maverick Ranch? Tell us about that.
The typical day. Let's see. There's nothing typical. That's one of the reasons I like it. When it becomes typical, that's when I don't like it. When it's monotonous. Like right now, I'm doing a lot of bush hogging, a lot of mowing, and so that gets monotonous. But today, I bush hogged yesterday. My son took over for me and bush hogged till about 9 o'clock last night. They had a bearing go out on a wheel. I had to get up this morning, take the bearings off the wheel, go to town, get the parts, come back and fix it. I had a calf born. I had to put some fly spray on it. I had to move some cattle around so that I didn't run over a baby calf. I had to get all that done. I had to fuel up the tractor. Then I hopped in the tractor and a bush hog for about 4 hours. Then I came in and took a shower, and I'm talking with you now. But, yesterday or the day before, we bought a new piece of property. It had 110,000 pounds of scrap metal on it. So we had to clean up all this scrap metal that these people had left on it, just junk everywhere. and loading it onto trailers, hauling scrap metal place. So it's just a variety of things because we don't just have a ranch. We have an estate. I don't know if you've seen the videos that Miranda's done in the past, and that's what I'm trying to build is a family ranch instead of just a ranch. It's a place for the whole family to seek some kind of solace and peace. Everybody asked me, do you just like it? And I said, I'm blessed to have it. I'm blessed to be able to do what I do. But at the end of the day, I do this more for the privacy. We're 3/4 of a mile off of the road, back up on the place. We have 1 3/4 miles of Little Niagara River frontage. And I said, it's more for the future of my grandkids and my children, a place of serenity, a place of peace. And you asked me one thing you need to be able to raise children right. And it is a 3/4 of a mile driveway to raise them right. Because if you need to discipline your children, you don't need the neighbors calling the cops every time you holler at your kid anymore. The way the society is, you can't even discipline your children without somebody critiquing and saying, oh, you're doing it wrong. Let time decide whether you do it wrong. Let your kids reflect back on you. And I have that. I've had people come up and say, you're awful hard on your kids. They're going to hate you when you get older. And so far, I've got good kids that love me, so I'm waiting, and I tease them all the time. And I go, you aren't hating on me, are you? And they, no. As long as they're eating from my house, they're like, no, I'm not hating you yet. Oh, yeah, you better not, or you can take that sandwich and spit it back out and go on.
Yeah, I just watched the on YouTube 7 Days Out, so I got to see a little bit about that, about the land and the family. Real quick, what was that experience like filming that? That looked like that was cool.
Oh, it was, but we had a documentary done that was called Beyond the Cage that Luca did, and it was actually more in depth onto the ranch. But really, the only way to get a feel of this place would be to actually visit it. When she did Beyond the Cage, we got to go up and meet with, we're sitting there because Pat Miletich was in it, Dan Severin was in it. I got to meet those old school guys, which I kind of meshed with a little more. And they're really good people. They're down to earth. And it's just a great experience to go up there. The thing where they came out and did, what was it called? The Anatomy of a Fighter. When he came out, it was a quick afternoon or day, came out and did it. It's pretty awesome just for Miranda to get the publicity from it and everything. But it's not a day in the life of the Mavericks. You have to clean up. You have to sit here and do certain things, so that everybody can see it. You don't want to just sit there and wait for things to fall apart so that they can come film you doing it. You don't hop in the tractor and take off and do your job because they're filming. You have to find something that they can film. So Miranda asked me, she said, is there something they can film? And I said, I've got water gaps out. I've got 4 of them. And I said, I've got this little electric fence gap. She's like, let's go fix that. So, we just did what needed to be done for the film.
Okay. Yeah, I enjoyed it. I still have to see it, and I don't know where to find it. Where can I find that film if I wanted to see it?
You'll have to ask Miranda, hit her up, because I actually don't know. It was supposed to have came out somewhere. Miranda can give you the link and you can post it, or she can post it. It's actually a good video. I liked it. Pretty good. But, with Dan Severin in it, when I got to meet Dan, got to meet Pat Miletich, Matt Hughes was in it. They were all good guys and liked them, just like the old school stuff. They were more down to earth. When you go to the UFC, all these guys are in cliques. I participated obviously in other things in life, and it doesn't matter what you get into, people are in little cliques. And especially with COVID, keep your distance, wear your mask. So it's not like an Invicta. When you're in Invicta, we're all in the same locker room. But even there was little cliques. You've got just different little stars that are there that think that they're better than everybody else. Everybody's pretty nice, but you just don't mesh. You all stay kind of to yourselves because of COVID. And Miranda and I are waiting because ever since she's been in the UFC, COVID's been on. And I keep going, when's this stuff going to go away? When can we quit this and start living life again? But you asked about the ranch. It's a beautiful, wonderful blessing from God to have it. And I absolutely, this is our sanctuary. When I have to go out, I'm here for a month. You know, I'm working all the time, and my job is my backyard. You know, it's a 1,000-acre backyard, but I'm out there, and I need a part. I make sure one of my kids go get the part. I need something from town. I tell my wife, pick this up from town. And somebody will say, hey, did you see where they're building this new road on the way into town? I'm like, no. Well, they've been building it for 3 weeks. And I'm like, I haven't been off the farm for 3 weeks. And my daughter's like, Dad, you got to get this flight, connect here. You know, next thing you know, I'm flying to Vegas. I'm making my connecting flights. People are coming up to me saying, wear a mask, stand here, stay there. And I said, I haven't been told what to do so much since I was a little child. And it grades on my ever living last nerve. I do it. And, you know, when we're at the airport, we're hoarded in together. We can go to the restaurant and eat, and everybody's hoarded in there, sitting on top of each other. And then they put us all in the gate, and they had construction where we were at. We're hoarded in on top of each other. We got our bags sitting on top of each other. We're shoulder to shoulder, pressed in there. And then they say, when we call your boarding pass, please distance 10 feet and stand on these yellow marks. And so we leave each other standing shoulder to shoulder. Then we go stand 10 feet apart as we board the plane, then rush in and sit with each other shoulder to shoulder again. And I stopped and asked this one couple, I said, does this even make sense to you? And they said, well, we just do it so we can fly. And I'm like, yes, I haven't met one person that goes, this makes sense. They had us all putting our masks on, telling us that you can't take the mask off. You can't even lower it below your nose. And then they come by and give you snacks and drink and tell you can lower your mask to get your snacks and drink. And I said, man, thank God that COVID can't get you as long as you have a snack and a drink in your hand. And so, you know, I'm gained about 50 pounds now because I found out that snacks and drink keep COVID away. So I'm just constantly snacking and drinking.
Man, I mean, I can go on, but I mean, bottom line for me, it's all political theater. It is. I mean, even the normies out here in California are starting to wake up. They're like, wait a minute, I got the shot and I still have to wear a mask now? And you know, I feel like, and then I tell them, I said, hey, you feel like you're being played yet?
Well, I'm not going to get in. I think it's all real. It's fine if everybody wants to feel that way, but the fix is ridiculous. You know, common sense flew out the coop. You know, I don't think anybody understands what they're doing, or they think this should be fixed a certain way. And it doesn't take an IQ above Forrest Gump's belt buckle to figure out that this isn't working the way they think. If everybody needs to get the vaccine, go get it. I wasn't vaccinated when we went to the last UFC, so the ones that were vaccinated got a golden ring around their dog collar, and I got a silver one. And I laughed, and no fighters had a golden one. I didn't see anybody that was a fighter or on the fighter's corner that had a golden loop, but all the UFC personnel had it. And I said, well, I'll tell you, you all are making me feel bad because you've got a gold one and I've got a silver one. And I said, what if I call this platinum? And they just laughed and they said, oh, no, you can't call silver platinum. And I said, it's platinum, baby. We're platinum.
Yeah, I mean, man, we can do a whole show about this, but it'll just get us both fired up.
For all those for all those out there that are fighting this fight, more power to them. I hope it works out the way everybody wants it to. I wish we would all get back to work. I can't get any parts. I can't get anything because of COVID. And it's just when I get back home, our small hometown, you know, our little stores are just as crowded as when we go to a big city. When we go to a big city, the grocery stores are just as crowded as our small city has, except for we don't have any masking. But guess what? Our little town where we hoard in with no masking has a low, limited amount of COVID. And when you go to the bigger city, we've got to put on our masks. and we got to play the game. And if you don't, they run up and tell you to put your mask on, which I'm more than willing to do if that'll help everybody feel better. It just hasn't, helped. But if whatever can fix it, I'm all for doing. If it means getting the vaccine. Somebody asked me, they said, "Are you going to get it?" And I said, "I'm waiting for the money to go up." I said, "I hear some people are getting $1 million lottery. I'm hoping for 10 mil. I'm waiting till I get thrown in the lottery." Somebody said, "So you're going to get it?" I said, "Yeah." I said, they're trying to get people not to take the shot because they're telling you, if you hold out, the money will go up. It's like, let's make a deal with the suitcases. And you're sitting there going, "I'll get the shot, but I hear next week we're going up to $10 million in the lottery." Who's going to get the shot when they're only offering $100? They should say, "We're not paying anymore. This is the best deal you're going to get. Take it or leave it." But they just keep upping the deal. So I'm like, no, you need to talk to people and tell them the money's going to go up. Hold out. So I've met a few guys that said, "I'm just holding out for a bigger price tag."
Oh my goodness, Mr. Maverick, I gotta have you back on, man. You're a riot. One last thing, I'm gonna let you go. I did not expect it to go this long. I'm just having too much fun with you. Miranda has said, she's kind of leaked it, that you're pretty damn good at predicting winners in fights. Do you have any fighters or any? Let me pull it up. Do you have any fights you're feeling really good about on Saturday?
No, and I don't do that for everybody else. My record has been somewhere around 80% on the whole fight card. But to be quite honest, and this is legit, since she's been fighting, I've been so focused on her and the flyweights. That's what I contend with. And I haven't been paying attention to the nuances of all the fighters. And yes, I'm usually pretty good about picking fights. And she said, "Dad, when I get some money, I'm going to give you about $10,000 and you're just going to bet on fights for me." And I said, sometimes I've been even in, 50-50. And boy, that does not feel good when you're 50-50. And I've gone as high as 90%. But no, I'm not going to predict out in the open air for everybody because I don't want anybody telling me that I swayed them left or right and lost the money. But for my family, I'll do that. I'll keep it close to the vest.
Well, yeah, welcome to my world.
And as far as I'll say again, for Miranda's fight, the elephant in the room, I want everybody that's out there on the fence with struggles in their life, stress, watch how somebody else that's a follower of God handles that kind of thing. You have to leave those things to God. You and I run into things all the time. You get told you've got a sickness, you get told you got a disease, you didn't get the raise. I mean, it affects people from, bottom to top. There is someone out there dealing with things that are far worse than what we have to deal with. And it's almost a slap in their face when we whine about things that really are only bad to us. So that being said, Miranda's loss was absolutely horrible. I didn't like it, but there are people dealing with a lot more injustice, a lot more unfairness out there. And you bet, because I'm her dad and this is in the fighting world, I haven't seen anything in the fighting world quite as egregious as this in a long time. I can't believe that there's not more being said about it. I hated to see articles that said, headline, Macy Barber wins split decision against Maverick, and didn't go into the details. There was only a couple of those, but for the most part, everybody covered it pretty fair because I think it was 22 media outlets that covered it, and all 22 had Miranda winning. DC said that the odds when the fight was over and the fight was getting ready to get called, it was minus 1,200 that Miranda won. So the betting odds, while that was there, they were still taking bets on who won that fight. If you bet $100, you were going to win 1,200 if Macy won that fight. So any idiot that went ahead and voted when it was a minus 1,200 made out like a bandit. But that's, I just know my little corner, and my corner right here is to be in Miranda's. I have this place sitting back here for Miranda to seek as solace, and it's not something that I have to live with. It's something she has to live with. So I support her 100%. I absolutely detest anyone that harms my kids, especially when I watch how hard they work. This isn't basketball. This isn't a job interview. She has literally bled tears to get to this point. And when I watch somebody unfairly take something away from my child, guess what? When words don't work, physicalities do. And you said I handled it pretty well. Yeah, I handled it pretty well outside, but inside I kicked, a lot of people went out to the woodshed with me inside, but you just sit there and have to eat it. Because somebody said, what did you say? I said, well, after I took that loss the way I did, I went to my doctor and he said, I think we can reattach your tongue. You bit it almost completely in half. And I said, yeah, I bit my tongue a lot that night. I said, almost completely in half.
Yeah, I saw, when you guys came out, I was looking for you too. And all I can see was your feet because you were holding up the flag in the corner. But one last thing. I know I said the last one was the last thing, but I just popped. A lot of my viewers wanted to know, what is the most funny childhood memory of Miranda, like doing like shenanigans as a kid? What sticks out in your mind?
Oh, I can't. I absolutely can't. She'd kill me. I've already told this, and she's been like, Dad, you cannot tell that kind of stuff about me. I have a position in this world. You can't go and undermine me that way. I've done that one time, and I'm sorry. I'll have to tame it down and say that Miranda, when she was little bitty, she loved to braid my hair. This is the PG stuff. But she would love to braid my hair. When she would watch TV, she would watch it from my shoulders, sitting in the chair, and she would sit there and tie ribbons in my hair. She'd paint my toenails, paint my fingernails. She would just do, if I wasn't paying attention to her when she was 3 and 4 years old, I was just like a mountain, I was her own little Walmart erector set. She would play on me all the time, and I'd just get to where I'd ignore it. And so her and I were buddies and pals from the very beginning, since she was little bitty. There's a lot of embarrassing little stories I can tell, but I'm forbidden.
Hey, that's fair. I totally get it. I don't want her coming after me either for asking that.
No, I can't betray her trust that way. Not anymore, anyway. I did that one time, and she said I couldn't do it ever again. But I guess I can tell another story about her. That one time we were up hiking in the mountains, and I pretended I broke my leg. She was about 11 or 12 years old, and I pretended I broke my leg. I fell. There was a bunch of leaves, and I saw this opportunity, and I slipped and fell down this hill and rolled it several times and grabbed my leg and told her I broke my leg. Her brother and sister were with us, and I said, you're going to have to go home. She had no clue how to get home. We were 5-6 miles from home. And I said, you're going to have to go home, get the truck, drive it around. She was, Dad, I don't know where I'm at. And I said, you're just going to have to find home. I said, get there, get the truck, go up this road, turn down this road. I said, I'm going to try and crawl. It's about a mile to the nearest road. I said, I'm going to try and crawl and meet you there, and you come get me. And she was just in tears, beside herself. She didn't know what to do. And she turned around, head down, and started to head, in her way of going home, and had her old shoulders down and started to walk away. And I said, wait a minute. And I stood up and I said, no, I think it's okay. I said, I think it's all right. I think I can walk on it. Dad, oh, she still tells that story. And it got worse from there. And she's like, I'll never forgive him, ever. She said, I was destroyed. I thought, how am I ever going to come find my dad again? She said, I didn't even know if I could find home. And that again, she made me swear after I did it got worse. After I did about 2 or 3 of those things to her, she swore me off of doing that. So I have to be a really good boy, I guess, or she's going to, talk bad about me or something.
Yeah, it's our job too as fathers to mess with our kids. We'll do it to her kids too. Just watch.
Yeah, well, and she will mess with them. Her brother and sister have had their share of tortures too. So they've been absolutely blessed. I said, my two youngest were homeschooled for the longest time until they got to high school. And they tease me and tell me that I was the school bully. And I said I wanted them to have the complete school experience. I didn't want them to miss out on that. So when they tell me I was the bully at school, I said, yeah, I just didn't want you to miss out on that. And my son is like, you didn't bully them, you bullied me. And I said, you'll get over it.
Yeah, old Brock there, he looks just like you. I've seen old pictures of you. Oh my God, the spitting image is insane. But yeah, man.
He is. There's pictures of me when I was his age, and we do look almost in certain angles. You can't hardly tell which one's which. He really likes that a lot.
Yeah, he's another child of yours that's just absolutely thanks God every day that you're his father that I see in his posts, and I admire that, man.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. And he is a beast. He's a beast of a human being. He's a freak of nature with his strength and his abilities that he has. And, you know, I don't want to say Miranda thinks she looks a lot like me. And if this goes out there, I'm sure her fiance is watching this at some point in time. And the most embarrassing thing I can think to say is that my daughter looks a lot like me, and he is obviously attracted to my daughter. And so I have got to watch the boy when he gets around me. I know he thinks I'm attractive. I know he finds me, attractive, but he and I, we got a good relationship, seeing as how I look so much like the woman that he's in love with.
Yep, everybody. I didn't want to state the obvious that she looks just like you. I think I told her that, but I mean, yeah. I mean, if I was my wife's father passed away a long time ago. I never got to meet him, unfortunately. But if her dad would have walked in, a big guy like you, I'd be like, yes, sir, and I'd be, or I'd get beat up, right? But I have one question from Mr. John Hall.
Well, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, real quick. He says, Mr. Maverick, do you know if I answered or not? How did your daughter start fighting and to get into the UFC?
How'd she start? I guess way back at the beginning, she fought with me when she was little. But when she broke in, she went to college, and she was an academic scholar. I mean, she was very good. She got a full ride scholarship, not a partial ride. She got the stay, she got the book, she got everything. It was completely paid for. And I said, when you go, it was a good college. It was an expensive college. And I said, you don't need to be getting all this temptation that's coming to you. Let's start you in a good gym, a gym to go with your passions, because she worked with me at home. But obviously my level, my jiu-jitsu is really top notch. I am undefeated in jiu-jitsu in my house. I have defeated every woman and child here. But, I knew that she could go on to greater things. So she went down to a gym, where those guys are undefeated in their gym. So, they're a lot better guys than me. And so we enrolled her in that gym when she was 16, and she actually went to college with a scholarship, full ride, when she was 17. So she started at that gym at 17 and took her first amateur fight at 18 because she was so enthralled with going in there and training and was doing so good against everyone. At 17, she said, I want to fight. And she had to wait till she turned 18. And I think she turned 18 July 1st. Her first fight was August 28th in Kansas City, Missouri. And she won in the first round against a 29-year-old nurse that was 5'9". It looked very awkward, had a little bitty in there against this great big gal. They fought at 125. And at the time, Miranda was walking around weighing about 124, 125, and this gal cut weight. So, Miranda was outweighed by, 10 or 15 pounds. And here she was, just turned 18, and she submitted her in the first round. And that's kind of a rough story how she got started.
All right, so there
and
you
then
go,
the
Mr.
bug
Hall.
bit her, and she was.
All right. So this is it, Mr. Maverick. The floor is yours. If there's anybody you want to shout out, anything you want to promote, anything you want to say to your fans, the viewers, the floor is yours, young man.
All right, I will. First of all, praise God for everything that He's done for this world, that He's done for all of His children. But support Miranda. You can support her financially. You can support her by buying gear, just like you did. You can go out there and follow her. Become a fan of Miranda's. That helps a lot. Buying her gear. Go to her store. I don't even know the name of it. Do you know the name of the store? You can put it up there. I don't want to get the internet name wrong on it, but she has her own site that she opened up, and you can post that in a minute. But get behind Miranda if you want to find a good, wholesome individual that you can have your children look up to, that you can have your daughters. Forget Kim Kardashian, forget all of, it doesn't even have to be Miranda, but I wish that this world would quit idolizing actors and actresses and singers and go after people that have actually some character and some get up and go, something that you would actually want your child to emulate, not somebody that makes their life on evil or makes their life on sex, but something that somebody does with character. Miranda Maverick is loaded with character. She is a wonderful person, and I can't say enough good things about my daughter. She's 24 years old. She is a godly girl. Obviously, nobody is perfect, struggles with lots of things, but is really walking very hard to get the type of life she wants. And everybody should go out and support her for that. And my other two children, I love them very, very much. And I praise God for my children every day. And thank you, Lord, for our health. And thank you for you having me on. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you for coming on. You've been an absolute delight I've had on one of these podcasts. So I hope you'll come back. We'd love to have you back.
I'll come back if everybody wants me to come back. They may be sending a whole bunch of stuff into you, telling you never to have that guy back on.
Oh, well, they know what they'll hear from me about that, because all my viewers and followers know how I feel about your family and yourself, and so they know better than that.
Well, and one more, I guess I could add one more thing. I could say to all my enemies, to all those that ever wished bad upon me or my children, look what God can do. It doesn't matter what you all wished upon me or my children. Look what God can do. He can turn it all around. He can forgive you of anything. Hope He can forgive you for the things you do, and you can go and repent. But to all those that are supporters of Miranda's, we're going to do the best we possibly can in the future. We want to give the glory to God for everything that we do that's good, and go to Him and ask forgiveness for all the wrong things. But all those, I told my daughter, sometimes you have to do things that push you through, and sometimes you have to even use that hate from your enemy to push you through. Sometimes if you can't find the good, go to say, I won't let them win. And to all those that wish bad or that are against this, we're not going to let you win. We're pushing through anyway.
Good always prevails in the end. Mr. Maverick, thank you so much for coming on. Again, it'll be a delight to have you on. This was the funnest one I've ever done. All right, guys, thank you so much for tuning into the podcast. And let's go, Team Maverick. We'll see you guys later. Take care.
All right, let's go. I'm gonna go back to work.